Today I want to go on a journey with you. As it's All Saints' Day, this journey will include the saints in our lives, those people who've pointed us toward God. This journey is also hopefully going to include you and me and all people everywhere, because it's a journey of hope, of healing, of seeing things new. It's a journey for all the saints. And whether you see yourself as a saint or not this day, I want to begin by saying, with as much certainty as I can muster, you are a saint. And what makes you a saint is the ways that God calls you, claims you, and loves you. You're a saint. And I want to invite you in the midst of your saintliness this morning to reflect on those parts of yourself that maybe the world wouldn't call so saintly. I want you to invite you to reflect on the harder parts of life. Those things that get you stuck, that capture you or keep you from becoming your most full self. Sometimes these are things that are outside of our control. They're things others have said about us, things that are awful and not true. And yet we internalize them and think they're a core part of who we are. And sometimes we're the ones who say these things about ourselves, believing in the lies and half-truths that cause us to believe we're not enough, or we don't have enough, or that we aren't worthy of love. Sometimes the world around us, our culture, our society has a grip on parts of our identity. And this grip holds us down. Basically, I want you to think about the things that have you bound, that hold you captive, the things that you can't shake free from. And maybe you can't shake free from them because they're beyond your control. Or maybe deep down inside there's a part of you that doesn't think you deserve to be freed from them. These are the parts of yourself that you rarely, if ever, talk to anybody else about. Because to do so would reveal something you think the world either couldn't or wouldn't accept about you. Now, on this All Saints' Day, imagine if this part of you were transformed or removed and you were reformed. Imagine what your life would be like if you were no longer burdened with it. How would you live? What would you do? Or perhaps you don't allow yourself to think like that, because being freed is too much to imagine. Because sometimes the hard stuff in life is just beyond imagining being freed from. This life freed from these big burdens is part of what our text that Martin read from Revelation reveals for us. Where mourning and crying and pain will be no more. Where death has lost its power and God is dwelling with us in profound and powerful ways. Both of our texts for today, this text from Revelation and this gospel, are often read at funerals. Perhaps they were read at the funeral of a loved one who you remembered today. And they're often read because they give us a glimpse and a hope for the world to come. And today I want to say, as we remember these saints in our lives, these texts aren't just for later. They need not only speak of the future world when all is made right. They're more than that. I want you to notice in that text from Revelation that was read the direction of the movement. Instead of, as human beings, instead of you and me and all of our beloved ones being transformed up to heaven, in this vision, God and all the ways and things of God come to earth. God comes to us and makes all things new. In some ways, that makes this Revelation text an Advent and Christmas text. I know some of you are already thinking about Christmas, right? It's November. It's an Advent and Christmas text where we celebrate the incarnation, God coming to earth as Jesus, God coming to earth to change everything. Because that's what God does into your life and my life and the world around us. Coming, transforming these things we can't let go of, the false truths we've been told, and bringing us to wholeness in life, not just later, but here, now. In this vision from Revelation, the division between the heavens and the earth is no more. Now, I know that sometimes that idealized grandeur of this image of heaven and earth becoming one and all this hardship going away, it's too much to let ourselves really dwell with. Because we relate regularly a whole lot more to Mary and to Martha at the death of their brother Lazarus. Because we too have our lives turned upside down. Beloved ones die. Senseless tragedies and atrocities happen. And the world seems any and every way the opposite of how this vision from Revelation describes it. And if we're fully honest with ourselves and God, we get filled with anger or grief or pain or mourning or a sense of fatalism or apathy or our own unique combination of all these things. We have all the feelings. We weep. We yell at God, Lord, right alongside of Lazarus' brother, sisters. Lord, if you would have, then I wouldn't be in this situation. And regularly, in the midst of our own feelings, our grief, our anger, whatever they are, we can't connect to and see what we see in this text from John. That is the pain and the heartbreak that the events of this world, both the really big global ones and the intimate events of our own lives, we can't believe that these things cause that angst and pain and grief for God. Yet today we hear that Jesus was greatly disturbed, deeply moved, and he began to weep. And those emotions aren't just true around Martha and Mary and Lazarus. It's true for your life. Jesus is deeply moved and weeps for and with you. Jesus sees your pain, your heartbreak, your things that you thought about earlier. And Jesus doesn't want them to have power over you. And while in 2018 it's hard to imagine Jesus doing what Jesus did to Lazarus and raising a person in that literal way, I don't think that it's too much to imagine Jesus being a part of your life and my life and our life together and speaking hopeful truth and hard truth into the people and events and situations that hold us down, all so that we, those we love, and the whole world can experience a more abundant life. So today, as we remember all the saints, I want you to hear again that you are a saint. You are beloved. And Jesus loves you so much that Jesus is disturbed in spirit and deeply moved at your particular pain, your suffering, your hardship. Jesus weeps for you. And Jesus does more than weep. Just as Jesus says at the end of this reading to those who are around Lazarus, we hear a similar word. Unbind him and let him go. And I think we get this same message as we have a new vision of how the world can be from Revelation and from John, as Jesus speaks to all those powers that are inside and outside of you and me and everyone else, and Jesus simply says, unbind her. Unbind him. Let him go. Let her go. And I think we in the world need more of this unbinding power. More release from the things that hold us back and hold us down on All Saints' Day. We, today, believe and trust in the power of God to unbind, to free, so that we can more fully and more authentically be the saints that God has called each of us to be. What do you need to be unbound from? And how can you, as Jesus' hands and feet, be part of the unbinding of the world around you? Imagine what life would be like if we were unbound. And that new vision from Revelation of the things of God coming to you and to me and transforming it all. Imagine what that would be like. And as you imagine it, may that vision free you, unbind you, and open you up to a new and different way of being, so that life abundant can be released for you and for all, for now and for always. Amen.